starring, amongst others, Tom Cruise, Jeremy Renner, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Sean Harris, Ving Rhames, and Alec Baldwin. Directed by Christopher McQuarrie off of a script that he wrote. This is my review for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. So welcome to the 5th in my series of Mission Impossible reviews. The next one will be the new one. Please be good. Please be good. And this is the one that I had a sneaky suspicion would turn out to be my favourite. Because of all of the movies, this is the one that I remember as a whole enjoying the most. And I was really hoping it would hold up to that when I went back and watched it. Because Ghost Protocol didn't. Ghost Protocol was still a good film, but it wasn't as good as I remembered it being. And that was a shame. So I was a little bit worried about Rogue Nation. Thankfully, I didn't need to be. So the plot of this one is that Ethan Hunt once again ends up going rogue. He believes that there's an organisation called the Syndicate, who were teased at the very end of the last movie, actually. And he thinks that, and they've been described as the anti-IMF, and he believes that they're responsible for some pretty terrible things that are going on, and they're out to cause some pretty huge problems for the world. The problem is that nobody believes the Syndicate exists apart from Ethan Hunt and his little team. So the CIA have now completely shut down IMF. Again, this is one of the problems with the film. It does repeat on a lot of things that have happened before, but yeah, in a good way. So the CIA then go after Ethan Hunt, and he has to avoid them while trying to prove that these guys exist. And what I love the most about Rogue Nation is that it goes back to what made the first movie so good, by being a spy espionage type movie. And it does have action stuff as well, but at its heart, that's the movie that it is. And all of the action sequences, all of the action moments that come in here don't take away from that. It feels like part of the story. This, more than any other of the movies so far that have come, feels like the perfect combination of everything needed to make a Mission Impossible movie amazing. The cast in this one, great. Again, Tom Cruise, brilliant. That's all we'll say about Tom Cruise. I've said it enough. He's really good. Simon Pegg, once again, and I said in the last review how good he is at blending comedy and drama, and none more so, I think, than in Rogue Nation. There's so many great moments from Benji here, and my favourite one that just sells that point of how good he is at switching is when Ethan's trying to tell him to leave, that he doesn't want him to come along for the mission because he doesn't want to put him in danger, and Benji very angrily sort of says, "No, I'm coming with you." And in the same scene, about 10 seconds later, Simon Pegg is able to turn Benji's anger into a comedic beat. And it's seamless. I absolutely love Simon Pegg in this movie. I'm so glad he's in them, and I'm so glad that he keeps coming back for them as well, because I think he's an integral part of this. Ving Rhames is back as well, and who doesn't love Ving Rhames? He gets a lot more to do here. In Ghost Protocol, he only showed up right at the very end. Here, he's along for the ride. He's along for the majority of the mission. He doesn't turn up until a little bit later, although he is there at the very start. But he's missing for a little bit, but when he does come back, he and Jeremy Renner have such a great camaraderie between them. Like the two of them working together, and we haven't seen them together before, really, apart from that one brief scene where they didn't really interact. Here they do, and it's so much fun. And as for Renner, yeah, again, he's really good too. The only thing I'd say about him is I didn't like that they tried to add some doubt as to whose side he was on, because I never believed, after what we saw in the last movie and after what they went through, that Jeremy Renner would turn on Ethan, that he would betray them. I didn't believe that he would, so when it was made to believe that he did, I didn't buy it for a second. That's my only weak point, I think, with that character, and one of the few weak points I've got for this film as a whole, really. Sean Harris, I think, is a very good villain. Much like Ghost Protocol, actually, the villain doesn't get a lot to do, so the villain isn't around for a huge amount of it. He turns up at the start, shoots that girl, and then he's missing for quite a lot of the time, and he does come back into play at the end, but it would have been nice to see more of him. But that being said, this villain is so much better than the one in the fourth because of the performance from Sean Harris. This is a really creepy villain. He's creepy, he's sinister, and while he's not, like, he doesn't tower over people, like, he's not a big guy, but he doesn't need to be. He's a very quiet, almost subdued villain. When he speaks, like, I think he's going to do the things that he says he'll do. I believe that this guy would just do anything, really, to achieve what he wants to achieve. And while his goals are a little bit murky, I don't fully understand where this guy's coming from, I'm fully on board with him as a villain. I've heard other people say that they don't think the performance is good enough to warrant being the main villain. Like, he should be some sort of henchman working for somebody bigger. But I disagree with that. I think he's exactly the sort of villain that you need in a movie like this. Not over the top, not a big muscular guy, just a creepy dude who's just, the way he speaks is so good in this. It's just, yeah, I really, really like him. I think he's coming back for the next one as well, so really happy to see that. I can't wait to see what he does next. We also have Alec Baldwin, who's here, and Alec Baldwin for me can quite often kind of go into the cheesy side of acting, I think, but in this one he nails it. He's particularly the end scene, I think. What I love about his character is that he's out for himself and he's got no shame. Like, he starts off saying the IMF should get rid of him, and he's the person spearheading this hunt, as it were. And he's fine with killing him. Like, he's not a nice guy. He's not exactly a bad guy, really, either. He's just a morally questionable guy. But I just love the fact that in the end he's like, no, I was all part of this all along. IMF should stay. He's a fun character. I like Alec Baldwin. I do. Just sometimes he can veer a little bit too far one side for my liking. But yeah, no, here he's very good. Star of the entire thing, though, even more so than Tom Cruise, is Rebecca Ferguson. I can't imagine this franchise without her now, and I've just literally watched 4 movies that she wasn't in. I really do think, outshines Tom Cruise on this. If she got a spin-off, totally cool with it. I'd watch the hell out of that movie. But she not only holds her own against Cruise, but she does better than him sometimes. She's such a presence. Like, I genuinely believe this woman could kill me with her finger. Like, I genuinely do. And there's nothing I can fault about her performance at all. When she's needed to do the action scenes, she pulls them off remarkably well. Like, again, can't fault it. The quieter moments, she absolutely nails. And the whole way through the movie where we don't know if we can trust her or not, it could be frustrating, but it's not because of her performance, because I instantly like her. I instantly want to see more of her. When she does betray them, and luckily we find out there's more to it than just I'm a bad guy. She's not, which is good. But when she does do that, I was genuinely a little bit upset, because I was really rooting for her to be part of this team. And again, she's back in the next one as well. Can't wait to see her too. Easily the star of this movie, without question, Rebecca Ferguson. So while I've said that the spy stuff and the espionage stuff is really, really good here, so's the action. The opening, I mean, this doesn't waste any time, does it? The opening, the first few minutes of the movie, has Tom Cruise hanging onto the side of a plane as it takes off. I mean, this guy. Like, and he actually did that, I believe. Like, I think he actually did cling onto the side of the plane, and, you know, I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did, because it was visually amazing. And I love the humour here as well. This is what Mission Impossible does well, I think, as the movies go on. They blend the humour in seamlessly. Such as Benji opening the door and Tom Cruise and Ethan just hurtling into the plane. It's just such a fun little moment, while at the same time just being like, shit, this is awesome stuff. And then there's the underwater bit, which, again, one of my favourites, I think, in this, just because of how tense it is. The whole concept of somebody having to hold their breath underwater just makes me feel very, very uneasy. It always has. And this is the best use of it, I think, in a film. I can't think of one better, to be honest. Just time seems to just go at a standstill in this moment. And it should. It's just directed so perfectly. Just little moments like the turbines flying around and Ethan having to dodge out the way of them. And then the moment he loses consciousness and his lifeless body just floats away. And then Rebecca Ferguson just jumps in and saves him. Amazing sequence, only bettered in this by the chase. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation has, I am fairly confident, the best chase scene I have ever seen in a film. It's when Tom Cruise has just been brought back to life again and he's all a little bit crazy, he's not quite with it, which again, blending the humour and the drama. Blending it absolutely perfectly. It does it here as well. It'll jump over the car where he falls over that starts all this off. It's just so funny. It's a great little moment. But this just carries on and escalates and escalates. You have Benji and Ethan chasing Rebecca Ferguson's character. Then you have the bikers chasing her, who are then chasing Ethan. Then you have Jeremy Renner and Ving Rhames is his new name. Then you have Jeremy Renner and Ving Rhames. They turn up and get thrown into the mix of it. The car jumping and spinning. It's so good. And just when you think this sequence can't get any better, Ethan jumps on a motorbike and just goes off after all of them. And that is the highlight of the whole thing. And my favourite bit is just a little moment that just is really telling of Rebecca Ferguson's character here. And I really should look up her name because I've forgotten it. Ilsa. So yeah, the best bit of this for me is Ilsa trying to get away, and as Ethan turns the corner, she's just standing in the middle of the road right in front of his bike and he has to swerve to avoid her. It's such a great moment because it shows so much about this character and how she can read people. Like, she knows Ethan will want to get out of the way. She knows he won't want to hurt her. And she also knows it's her best chance to escape is by putting herself in danger, and it works. And the little look she gives as she drives off, like, just so good. It's the best at 10 minutes, I think, I've seen in quite some time in a film. This whole chase. Brilliant stuff, really is. And I didn't even mention the opera sequence then. I almost forgot it, which is terrible, because that sequence doesn't get enough attention, I don't think. It doesn't give the credit it deserves, because it's not an action-filled scene at all. There's a little bit of action, there's little bits in there, but it's primarily leaning on the espionage and the spy, and it's a slow burn. And it's all done so well. Christopher McQuarrie directed this incredibly. Just little moments like Benji accidentally nudging the platform and Ethan rising up when he's trying to fight this guy. It's full of humour and it's full of suspense, and it takes its time. It's a real slow burn scene set to some great opera music as well. I'm not a huge fan of opera music, but I like what they chose here. There's so many elements at play in this as well. You've got two different people trying to shoot one guy, really, and then Ethan having to take the shot himself because he doesn't know which one of them to kill. It's, again, so well done, and I really love this movie, actually. I really do. This is definitely my favourite of the 5. Once again, though, much like the 4th one, it does lose steam a little bit. The 4th had the whole Dubai sequence, which was the whole Dubai act, actually. Act 2 was all Dubai. And it lost steam after that. And so does Rogue Nation, just not quite to the same level, I think, as Ghost Protocol. This one keeps up the pace and keeps up the momentum a little bit more than that one does. I mean, it still does slow down, but it doesn't ever become boring. The stuff with the Prime Minister does get a little too silly, I think, for my liking. The Prime Minister just shot with that, I think it was a tranquilizer dart, and goes a little bit crazy and starts saying weird things. Like the humour, while I said it blends humour and action and drama really, really well, this is the only point for me where it doesn't. It leans a little bit too much into the silly. I mean, these problems I've got with the movie are just minor niggles, because for the most part I absolutely love it. But yeah, that's just one bit where it went a little bit too far for my liking. But to finish on a positive, where I said the 4th one, the ending felt anticlimactic because it was a lot more low-key than what came before it, so does this, but it works. It works so much better. I love that the ending for this isn't some explosion-filled chain of events. It's Ethan running from Sean Harris's Solomon, and basically just, they've all set a trap for him. He drops down, he thinks he's got the upper hand, and then the box goes up, he realises he's trapped, and that's the end of him for this movie. Like, they don't kill him off as well, which I liked. But it's a really nice moment, because the whole team are together, and the meet IMF moment is great. But it's all of IMF, what's left of them, together accomplishing this mission. It's not bombastic, it's not over the top, it's really subtle, it's really sort of a calm moment even. And everybody just gets to give a little look to Solomon to just be like, yep, we did this, we're victorious. And I really like that. I'm going to give Mission Impossible Rogue Nation a 9 out of 10. It's my highest rated one so far. So what do you think of Rogue Nation? Again, rank your Mission Impossible movies and let me know what you think of them in the comments below. I'm hoping to have the review for the new one up on Thursday. Maybe a little bit of a push, but I'm going to try to. Should have a review up for Searching as well over the next couple of days. Looking forward to seeing that. Hit like, hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Twitter as well, @JoeJulians. Come talk to me on there. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.